I need to get this out before it eats me alive. I'm sitting in my car outside what used to be my childhood home, watching my former best friend Sarah through the window of what used to be my bedroom. She's laughing with my parents. My parents who won't return my calls. It started so innocently. That's what I keep telling myself, but I know it's a lie. Sarah had been my best friend since college. When I got engaged to Emma 3 years ago, Sarah was there cheering us on. When Emma and I bought our house, Sarah helped us move in. When we started planning our wedding, she was going to be my best woman. I trusted her with everything. The cracks started showing about 6 months ago. Emma had been working late constantly, preparing for a big promotion at her law firm. I felt neglected. Ignored. Like I was living with a roommate instead of my fiancé. Every conversation was about her cases, her clients, her stress. I started feeling like an afterthought in my own relationship. Sarah noticed. She always did. "You seem unhappy," she said one night when we were grabbing drinks after work. Just the two of us, like old times. "Emma's really putting you on the back burner, isn't she?" I should have shut it down right there. Should have defended my fiancé. Instead, I nodded and took another sip of my beer. "You deserve someone who actually sees you," Sarah continued, her hand briefly touching mine across the table. "Someone who makes you a priority." The conversations became more frequent. Text messages throughout the day. "How are you holding up? Emma working late again? Want to talk about it over coffee?" I told myself it was harmless. Sarah was just being a good friend. She was helping me work through my relationship issues. But deep down, I knew what was happening. The way she looked at me had changed. The way I looked forward to her messages had changed. The worst part? I liked the attention. After months of feeling invisible to Emma, Sarah made me feel seen. Important. Wanted. It escalated gradually. Longer conversations about how Emma didn't appreciate me. How I was giving so much and getting nothing back. How Sarah would never treat someone she cared about that way. The emotional affair was in full swing before I even admitted to myself what it was. "You know I've always cared about you, right?" Sarah said one evening when we met for what I told Emma was a work dinner. We were sitting closer than friends should sit. Her hand was on my arm longer than it should have been. "Sarah," I started, but she cut me off. "I'm not asking you to leave her. I'm just saying. You have options. You have people who actually see your worth." I didn't kiss her that night. I didn't need to. The betrayal was already complete. I had given Sarah a piece of my heart that belonged to Emma. I had shared intimate details about my relationship, my doubts, my fears. I had emotionally checked out of my engagement while still wearing the ring. But Sarah wasn't content with just being my emotional escape. She wanted more. And when I finally came to my senses and tried to pull back, tried to recommit to Emma and work on our issues, Sarah couldn't handle the rejection. That's when the lies started. It began with my parents. Sarah had always been close to them. They considered her part of the family. So when she started calling them, crying about how I had changed, how I was treating her terribly, how Emma was turning me against all my old friends, they listened. "Your son has completely cut me out of his life," she sobbed to my mother over the phone. "After 15 years of friendship, he won't even return my calls. Emma has him completely under her control. It's like he's not even the same person anymore." None of it was true. I had been pulling back from Sarah because I realized how inappropriate our relationship had become, but I hadn't cut her off completely. I was trying to establish healthy boundaries. But Sarah painted herself as the victim of my sudden cruelty. Then came the bigger lies. "He's been saying terrible things about you too," she told my parents. "He says you're too old-fashioned, that you don't understand his life now. He says Emma's more successful than him and that makes him embarrassed of where he came from." I never said any of those things. I love my parents. They're working-class people who sacrificed everything to give me opportunities. I've never been anything but proud of them. But Sarah knew exactly how to push their buttons, exactly what insecurities to exploit. "He said he's outgrown his old life," she continued. "That once he marries Emma, he won't need to pretend to care about his family anymore." The lies got more elaborate. More vicious. Sarah told them I was having financial troubles but was too proud to ask for help. That I was drinking too much. That Emma and I were fighting constantly and I was taking it out on everyone around me. And because my parents trusted Sarah, because she had been part of our family for so long, they believed her. The first sign something was wrong was when my dad's birthday came and went without acknowledgement. Usually, my parents would call me weeks in advance, planning the celebration. This time, silence. I called my mom. She was cold, distant. "We didn't think you'd want to be bothered," she said. "Sarah mentioned you're going through a lot right now." "What did Sarah say exactly?" I asked, but Mom was already getting off the phone. "We don't want to add to your stress, honey. Call us when things settle down." I tried calling back. No answer. I drove over to their house. No one came to the door, even though I could see them through the window. That's when I knew Sarah had poisoned the well completely. I confronted her. Demanded to know what she had told my parents. She played innocent at first, then hurt, then angry. "I was trying to help," she said. "They were worried about you. I was just explaining what you were going through." "What I was going through?" "Sarah, you made up lies about me." "I didn't lie. I told them you were struggling. That Emma was putting pressure on you. That you were changing. You told them I was ashamed of them. Aren't you?" She shot back. "Look at your life now. Look at Emma's world. Are you telling me you don't feel the class difference? That you don't sometimes feel embarrassed bringing your working class parents around her lawyer friends?" The accusation hit like a slap because there was a grain of truth in it. Not that I was ashamed of my parents, but that I sometimes felt the gap between my old world and my new one. Sarah knew me well enough to find that insecurity and weaponize it. "That's not the same thing as being ashamed of them," I said. "And it's sure as hell not the same thing as saying I don't need them anymore." "I never said that." "Then why won't they talk to me?" Sarah's mask finally slipped. I saw the calculation in her eyes. The satisfaction. "Maybe they finally see who you really are," she said quietly. "Maybe they realize Emma isn't good for you. That the life you're building is hollow." That's when I understood. This wasn't about protecting me or helping me. This was about Sarah getting what she wanted. If she couldn't have me, she would make sure I lost everything else that mattered. But the real nightmare was just beginning. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who lives next to my parents. "I thought you should know," she said carefully. "There's a moving truck at your parents' house. That friend of yours, Sarah? She's moving in." I hung up and drove straight over. Sure enough, there was Sarah, carrying boxes into my childhood home. Into my old bedroom. My parents were helping her, smiling and welcoming her like the daughter they apparently preferred. I sat in my car, paralyzed, watching my best friend take my place in my own family. And the worst part was knowing that I had handed her the weapon she used to destroy everything. Emma found me there 3 hours later, after I missed dinner and didn't answer my phone. She knocked on my car window, her face full of concern that I didn't deserve. "What's wrong?" she asked, sliding into the passenger seat. I couldn't even begin to explain. "How do you tell the person you're supposed to marry that you emotionally betrayed them, and as a result, your former friend has turned your parents against you and stolen your place in their hearts?" "They chose her," I whispered, staring at the house where Sarah was probably settling into my old room. "My own parents chose her over me." Emma followed my gaze and saw Sarah through the window, laughing at something my father said. "I don't understand. Why is Sarah living with your parents?" I looked at Emma then. Really looked at her. At her intelligent eyes, her concerned expression, her hand reaching for mine despite not understanding what was happening. I thought about all the nights she worked late, building a career, building a future for us. I thought about how I had resented her dedication instead of supporting it. How I had sought comfort in the wrong place, with the wrong person. "I messed up," I said, my voice breaking. "I messed up so badly, and now I've lost everything." That night, I told Emma the truth. About the emotional affair. About Sarah's lies. About how my moment of weakness had cost me my parents and nearly cost me her too. Emma listened without saying a word. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Do you love me?" she finally asked. "Yes. God, yes. I'm so sorry, Emma. I was being selfish and stupid and, do you want to marry me? Really marry me, not just because it's what we planned? More than anything. Then we'll figure this out," she said. "But you need to understand that trust is like glass. Once it's broken, it's never quite the same again." I knew she was right. I knew I had damaged something precious and irreplaceable. But I also knew I would spend the rest of my life trying to earn back what I had thrown away. The hardest part wasn't losing my parents' trust or facing Emma's disappointment. The hardest part was looking in the mirror and seeing who I really was. Someone who had taken love for granted. Someone who had been so focused on what he wasn't getting that he forgot to appreciate what he had. As I write this, Sarah is still living in my childhood home. My parents still won't take my calls. Emma and I are in couples counseling, trying to rebuild something I broke out of selfishness and stupidity. I created this mess by choosing momentary validation over lasting love. By believing lies about what I deserved instead of fighting for what I had. And now I'm learning the hardest lesson of all. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. 3 months have passed since I posted my original story. People have been asking for updates. I wish I had better news to share. Things have gotten so much worse. Emma and I are still together, barely. The counseling sessions are brutal. Dr. Martinez doesn't let me hide behind excuses or self-pity. Every week, she forces me to confront the reality of what I did. You didn't just betray Emma, she said during our last session. You betrayed yourself. You became someone you don't respect, and now you're angry at everyone else for the consequences. She's right. God, she's so right it hurts. The worst part is watching Emma try to trust me again. She checks my phone now. Not secretly, not with shame. She just asks for it, and I hand it over because what else can I do? I destroyed her faith in me. She's trying to rebuild it, but I can see the doubt in her eyes every time I'm 5 minutes late coming home. I love you, she told me last week after another difficult session. But I don't know if I can marry someone I have to constantly worry about. I don't know if I can build a life with someone who runs to another person the moment things get hard. I wanted to argue. To tell her I've changed, that I'll never do it again. But the words felt hollow even in my own mouth. How do you promise not to be selfish when selfishness is what got you here in the first place? Meanwhile, Sarah has completely taken over my place in my family. And she's not just living there anymore. She's thriving there. My cousin Jake called me last month. We hadn't talked since the whole mess started, but he finally reached out. Dude, what the hell happened between you and your parents? He asked. Sarah's telling everyone you've completely lost it. That you threatened her. I never threatened her, Jake. She's lying. She seems pretty convinced. She's got text messages, voicemails. She played some of them for your mom. My blood went cold. What kind of messages? You yelling at her. Calling her names. Telling her to stay away from your family. I remember those calls. The desperate, angry calls I made after I found out she was living with my parents. I wasn't proud of them, but I never threatened her. I was hurt, betrayed, furious that she had manipulated my family against me. But Sarah is smart. She probably recorded only parts of those conversations. The parts where I sounded unhinged. Where my pain came across as aggression. She's manipulating the situation, Jake. She's been lying to mom and dad about me for months. Look, man, I don't know what's true anymore. But Sarah's been nothing but sweet to your parents. She helps your dad with his diabetes medication. She drives your mom to her book club. She's like the daughter they always wanted. That hit me like a punch to the gut. The daughter they always wanted. As if I had never been enough. What about me? I asked, hating how desperate I sounded. I'm their son. Are you, though? When's the last time you visited? When's the last time you called just to check in, not because you wanted something? Jake was right, and that made it worse. I had taken my parents for granted. I had assumed they would always be there, always love me unconditionally. I had gotten comfortable with being the child who called once a week, visited on holidays, and expected that to be enough. Sarah had recognized that weakness and exploited it perfectly. The breaking point came 2 weeks ago. My mom's birthday. I had planned to show up with flowers, with a card, with an apology. I thought maybe, if I could just talk to them face to face, I could start to repair the damage. I drove to the house at noon. There were cars in the driveway I didn't recognize. Through the window, I could see a party in progress. My extended family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins. People I hadn't seen in months, and at the center of it all was Sarah, holding court like she belonged there. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, working up the courage to go inside. When I finally walked up to the front door, I could hear laughter from inside. I knocked. My Uncle Frank answered. His face went through several expressions when he saw me. Surprise. Discomfort. Something that might have been pity. Hey, kiddo, he said quietly. Didn't expect to see you here. It's Mom's birthday, I said. Of course I'm here. Frank glanced back into the house, then stepped outside and closed the door behind him. Listen, your mom. She's having a good time. Sarah organized this whole thing. Maybe it's better if what? If I don't see my own mother on her birthday? If you don't cause drama today. Sarah told everyone about the messages you've been leaving. About how you've been harassing her. Your parents are scared of you right now. Scared of me. My own parents were scared of me. I never harassed her, Frank. She's been lying about me. She's been feeding them stories. Maybe. But true or not, they believe her. And right now, she's the one making your mom smile. She's the one who remembered that your mom likes yellow roses, not red ones. She's the one who organized this party and invited everyone your mom wanted to see. I looked through the front window and saw my mother laughing at something Sarah had said. She looked happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy. When was the last time I had made her look like that? She's poison, Frank. She's destroyed my relationship with them. Or maybe, Frank said gently, she's just doing what you should have been doing all along. I left without going inside. Drove straight home and drank half a bottle of whiskey while Emma was at work. When she found me passed out on the couch at midnight, she just shook her head and went to bed without saying a word. The next morning, I woke up to find a note on the kitchen table. I can't do this anymore. I can't watch you destroy yourself and expect me to stick around for the aftermath. I'm staying at my sister's for a while. Use the time to figure out who you want to be. Emma was gone. The engagement ring was sitting next to the note. I called her 17 times that day. She answered once. Don't, she said when I started to apologize. Don't make this about you again. This is about me. About what I need. About what I deserve. What do you need? I asked desperately. I need to know that you can be alone without falling apart. I need to know that you can face your problems without running to someone else for comfort. I need to know that you can be the man I fell in love with, not this bitter, self-pitying version of him. I can be. I will be. Prove it. Get therapy. Real therapy, not just couples counseling. Fix whatever is broken inside you that made you think emotional cheating was acceptable. Figure out why you're so willing to blame everyone else for the consequences of your choices. She hung up. I haven't heard from her since. That was 2 weeks ago. I've been seeing Dr. Martinez individually now, twice a week. She's helping me understand that this isn't just about Sarah or my parents or even Emma. It's about me. About the person I became without realizing it. You've been living like a victim, she told me yesterday. Like things just happened to you. But you made choices. Every step of the way, you made choices. And until you own that completely, you'll keep making the same mistakes. She's right. I chose to emotionally cheat with Sarah. I chose to share intimate details about my relationship. I chose to seek validation outside my engagement instead of working on the problems inside it. I chose to take my parents for granted, to assume their love was unconditional and required no maintenance. And when those choices had consequences, I chose to blame everyone else instead of looking in the mirror. Sarah didn't destroy my life. I did. She just took advantage of the weaknesses I had already created. The hardest part is the loneliness. Emma's gone. My parents won't talk to me. Most of my friends have heard some version of Sarah's story and don't know what to believe. I come home to an empty house every night and face the reality of who I am when no one is watching. I'm not proud of what I see. But maybe that's where healing starts. Maybe you have to hit rock bottom before you can start climbing back up. I drove by my parents' house yesterday. Sarah was in the front yard, planting flowers with my mom. They looked like a real family. A happy family. A family that didn't need the screwed up son who had taken them for granted. I didn't stop. I didn't call out to them. I just drove past and let myself feel the full weight of what I had lost. For the first time since this whole mess started, I wasn't angry at Sarah. I wasn't angry at my parents for believing her. I wasn't even angry at Emma for leaving. I was just sad. Deeply, profoundly sad about the man I had become and the pain I had caused. Dr. Martinez says that's progress. That acknowledgement is the first step toward change. I hope she's right. Because if she's not, I'm going to spend the rest of my life alone with the consequences of my selfishness. And maybe that's exactly what I deserve. It's been 6 months since Emma left. 4 months since my last update. People keep messaging me asking what happened, if things got better. I guess you deserve to know how this story ends. Spoiler alert, there's no happy ending here. Emma never came back. I know some of you were hoping we'd work it out, that love would conquer all, that my grand gesture would win her back. Real life isn't a movie. Some damage can't be undone. She picked up her remaining things last month while I was at work. Left the house key on the kitchen counter along with a letter. I've read it so many times the paper is starting to wear thin. I loved the man you were when we met, she wrote. But I can't love who you became, and I won't wait around hoping you'll find your way back to him. You taught me that I deserve better than wondering if my partner will run to someone else the moment our relationship faces challenges. Thank you for that lesson, even if learning it broke my heart. She was right. I did teach her that. I taught her that I couldn't be trusted with her love, her vulnerability, her future. And she was smart enough to learn. She's engaged now. I found out through social media because I'm weak and stupid and can't seem to stop torturing myself. His name is David. He's a doctor. He looks at her the way I used to, before I started taking her for granted. The way I should have kept looking at her. They look happy in the photos. Really, genuinely happy. Not the forced happiness of people trying to convince themselves they're in love, but the effortless joy of people who actually are. I'm glad for her. I hate that I'm glad for her, but I am. She deserves someone who sees her worth from day one and never stops seeing it. Someone who doesn't need a wake-up call to appreciate what they have. My parents are a lost cause. I finally accepted that 3 months ago when I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Not for Emma, for Sarah. She's marrying my high school friend Marcus. The guy I introduced her to at my engagement party 2 years ago. The same party where she first started planting seeds about how Emma didn't appreciate me. The really twisted part? They're getting married at my parents' house. In the backyard where I used to play as a kid. Where I had planned to propose to Emma before I decided to do it at the restaurant instead. My name wasn't on the invitation. I called my mom for the first time in months. She answered, which surprised me. Mom, I got the invitation. Sarah wasn't sure she should send it, Mom said carefully. But she thought it would be wrong not to include you. Include me? Mom, she's marrying my friend in your backyard and I'm not invited to the actual wedding. You're invited to the reception. Sarah thought that would be easier. Less complicated. Less complicated. As if my presence at the ceremony would somehow taint her special day. She's not your daughter, Mom. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. No, she finally said. But she acts like one. She calls every day. She remembers birthdays. She brings groceries when your father's arthritis is acting up. She listens when I talk about my book club without checking her phone or looking bored. Each word was a knife twist. Because they were all true. Those were things I should have been doing. Things I had stopped doing somewhere along the way. I'm your actual son. Are you? Because for the last 2 years, you've acted like we're an obligation. Like spending time with us is something you have to do, not something you want to do. I wanted to argue, but what was the point? She was right. I had taken them for granted. I had assumed their love was unconditional and required no maintenance. I had let the daughter of my heart become the daughter of their choice. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. But love isn't enough anymore. Sarah has been here for us in ways you haven't been in years. She's earned her place in this family. What about my place? You gave it up, she said quietly. You gave it up when you decided we weren't important enough to make time for. When you decided that calling once a week and visiting on major holidays was sufficient. When you stopped being a son and started being a stranger who shared our last name. She hung up. I sat in my empty house and cried like I hadn't cried since I was a child. The wedding happened last weekend. I didn't go to the reception. Instead, I drove to a bar across town and drank myself stupid while looking at the pictures on social media. Sarah in her wedding dress, radiant and beautiful, surrounded by my family. My parents walking her down the aisle together. My cousins dancing at the reception. Everyone I had grown up with, celebrating the woman who had systematically destroyed my life. But that's not fair, is it? She didn't destroy my life. She just took advantage of the cracks I had already created. The neglect I had already shown. The trust I had already betrayed. I've been in therapy for 8 months now. Dr. Martinez doesn't let me get away with anything anymore. You're still playing the victim, she told me last week. You're still acting like this happened to you instead of accepting that you chose this. I didn't choose to lose my parents. You chose to neglect your relationship with them. You chose to take them for granted. You chose to give Sarah ammunition by complaining about Emma instead of working on your issues. You chose to emotionally cheat. Every step of this disaster was a choice you made. So there's no hope? Nothing I can do? There's always hope. But it starts with accepting that you created this mess. That you hurt people who loved you. That you have to live with the consequences of those choices. And then what? Then you become someone worthy of trust again. Not for them, but for you. You become the man you should have been all along. And maybe someday, if you're very lucky and work very hard, you'll find someone willing to take a chance on the new version of you. I'm trying. I really am. I volunteer at a food bank now, trying to think about someone other than myself for a few hours a week. I call my elderly neighbor Mrs. Patterson to check on her because her son lives across the country and can't. I'm learning to be the kind of person who shows up, who follows through, who doesn't disappear when things get difficult. But the loneliness is crushing. I come home to an empty house every night. No Emma curled up on the couch with her legal briefs. No excited calls from my mom about some random thing that happened at the grocery store. No text messages from Sarah asking about my day. Just silence and the weight of my choices. I saw Emma at the grocery store 2 weeks ago. She was with David, picking out vegetables for what was probably a dinner party. She looked beautiful, peaceful, free. She saw me too. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the produce section. Then she smiled. Not the forced smile of someone trying to be polite, but the real smile. A forgiveness smile. I hope you're okay smile. It was the kindest thing anyone had done for me in months, and it broke something inside me that I didn't even know was still intact. I wanted to go over there. To apologize again. To tell her about therapy, about volunteering, about how I was trying to become someone better. But David put his hand on her back, and she leaned into him with the kind of trust I had thrown away, and I realized that my redemption story was not her burden to carry. So I bought my sad single-person groceries and went home to my empty house and my empty life. Here's what I've learned. Some mistakes don't get fixed. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. Some people you hurt so badly that the kindest thing you can do is stay away and let them heal without you. I destroyed my relationship with the woman I wanted to marry because I was too selfish and immature to work through our problems together. I lost my parents because I took their love for granted and someone else was willing to cherish what I had discarded. I betrayed my best friend's trust and then acted surprised when she showed me who she really was. The worst part isn't the loneliness. It isn't the regret. It isn't even the knowledge that I caused all of this myself. The worst part is knowing that somewhere out there, the people I hurt are living better lives without me in them. Emma found someone who deserves her. My parents found a daughter who actually acts like family. Even Sarah found happiness with Marcus, built on the foundation of the family she stole from me but probably deserved more than I did. Everyone moved on. Everyone healed. Everyone found something better. Everyone except me. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I'm not writing this for advice. I'm writing this as a warning. Because there are probably other guys out there right now, taking their partners for granted. Seeking validation outside their relationships. Assuming that the people who love them will always be there no matter how badly they're treated. This is what happens when you choose temporary gratification over lasting commitment. When you choose selfishness over love. When you assume that unconditional means you don't have to work to deserve it. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression on life. You don't get a do-over when you realize you've been an idiot. You get consequences, and you get to live with them. Some of you reading this still have time to make different choices. To appreciate what you have before it's gone. To fight for your relationships instead of running from them. To be the person your loved ones deserve, not the person you've been getting away with being. Do better than I did. Because once you're sitting alone in an empty house, watching other people live the life you threw away, it's too late to be anything but a cautionary tale.